This is a very common violin excerpt for auditions in Don Giovanni, so this is something that you might also come across in your future, which is why it's very important to take the time to learn this to even the slightest detail. I'm going to really be throwing a lot of things at you in this video super fast. This video is intended to help you, but also so where you can just stop the video, take a couple notes down of how you're going to practice, things you want to think about, mark up your music, things like that. It's not going to be like a slow motion, like practice with me kind of video. So just a heads up, you're going to be getting a lot of information in this video. First off, the tempo is very fast. That's the trap. You do not want to play this at tempo in your audition. And why I'm saying that is because I don't want you to think that when you're practicing. If you're trying to get it up to like 132, that might even be pushing it, like 126. When you actually go to play it in your audition, adrenaline starts to run and you're going to end up trying to play it at like 145. I'm just making up numbers. But you're going to start to play it way faster than what you've been practicing, and you are just going to completely fumble all over it. It's such a trap in this excerpt. Practice this 120 max. And I'm saying 120, this is a half note equals 120. So ba dee da 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 dee da 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 dee da da da. This is where your metronome should be. If you want to practice it slower with quarter notes, da da dee da 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 dee da 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 dee. That's also a really good thing to do before you get it up to that half note. Bowings are not totally official. Okay, I would definitely split the first bow. All right, you can do whatever you want to do with the bowings when it comes to excerpts, unless somebody specifically says otherwise. That is the one who is giving the audition. So here makes sense. So you have more control here with this pattern. And then just do the same thing here. Split it. Okay. When you do have that little bit of rest, pay attention to who is playing there. That is the brass. The brass is playing something more upbeat and cheery there. Also look at the notes that happen before your excerpt starts, right? We get that little sneak peek beforehand. There's this like really brushy, intense, and then it gets really soft and gentle in D minor. And it's very soft. And then we're in D major by the time we start our excerpt. Pay attention to those little things, like how brass is playing something happy and upbeat during the rest, and then you come in. How do you come in after they play that way? Now, when you have this kind of brushy stroke, it's not really a spiccato stroke because it's moving faster. It's just light and brushy. And finding that point is finding the balance point of your bow. So that's going to be wherever you can rest your bow on your finger and it does not fall to one side or the other. So it's different for every bow, but usually it's like generally in the same area, but it can vary. So for me, my bow, that's about here for me. So that's where I'm going to be the most successful with that brushy stroke. I find it here. If I go too high, I get stuck into the string because then I'm pulling the weight down there. Or here, I can't control it because the frog is so heavy. So finding that sweet spot is going to be really important here. For those softer brushy strokes, even the forte ones. When it gets to forte, you don't want to be playing a fortissimo times 10. And the reason why is because this piece is by Mozart. And in the classical era, when we played forte, we did not play forte as in this, like we have done closer to our times, like in the Romantic era, is where those fortes became so intense, where it wasn't that like lighter brushy stroke very often, or even like nowadays in some more modern and contemporary music where we do use those kinds of bow strokes. So just keep that in mind. Whenever you're playing anything classical, that's the kind of bow stroke that you want, even for fortes. It's not aggressive. It's just light and loud, loudly beautiful. Here, just pay attention to the bowing, because then your bowing feels backwards, because each measure is starting on an up bow. That's okay and that's right. Just make sure maybe write in those up bows so you know that you can anticipate them. And then it does not say divisi, which means in an audition, unless the person who is doing the or giving you the audition says otherwise, you should play both notes. All right, and that's just right in third position. And then you have those double A's. So to play that, I would say right in third position, just put your 2 on the D string, so you're playing an A here, and then open A's right next to her. And that's that spot. And then same thing here, you're going to want to play these double stops, but it's just with an open string. That's pretty easy. Now, the secret here, whenever you have a tie and then very fast notes that follow, I'll attach what my music looks like too, so you can follow along and see what I have in my part. I actually cross out the first eighth note of the grouping, so you'll see you have A, and it's tied to another A before you go. I cross out that A, because if I go, like if a singer was trying to sing that, they would die. Like they would not have any breath. That's where the breath is, where you want to take that little bit of breath. And we're basically mocking singers is what we want to do with our instruments. So wait, 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 and don't miss the open string like I did. But when you're doing those runs, you want to have those little bits where you do that wait and you take a little breath. It makes sense musically, and it also gives you time to prepare. So don't make it a run-on sentence. Take that little breath, cross out the eighth note so you know to do that. Here, when you have the low A's with a slash through it, every A that you see, you play 4 of them when you have 1 slash in there like that. It's just like the one before it. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, don't try to play all the strings when you roll down. Take a second. Taking a split second when you're playing this, whether it's in an orchestra during an audition, nobody's going to notice. It's just going to sound clean. So take your time to make it sound good. And then when you get here, I'm going to recommend second position. I know it's not our favorite, but it works. Watch my fingers. It's just 4, 2, 1, open. Instead of shifting up and down or trying extensions, it fits and it works easily. And then you're free from that spot. Here I would recommend fourth position. No string crossings, just get your first finger on the A string up to where your 4 would be. That's all right there. Same thing. Now these pianos, don't make them so nobody can hear them. You still want to be heard, and it should still be clear. Use that first finger, pronation, to get some clarity out of the note. And let that open G ring. This section, you're obviously very not important. This is a little flute, oboe, bassoon kind of moment, but you still want to have some waves of crescendoing and decrescendoing going up and down. Listen to what the melody sounds like in a recording, and that's what you generally want to follow, is how it's played there. And you have a little bit of decrescendo, crescendo. That way it's not super robotic. Instead. And then here it looks like a slur. That's weird. I would just start down bow. And then. And I'm adding in these double up bows. When you have those, the A and G sharp, that way you're starting each measure with a down bow. It's easier that way. Now, when I was looking at this part, I remember really struggling at the end of this excerpt as well. If you do an open E and then just first finger extended G sharp to A, everything is on the E string, and then you don't have to worry about having a bunch of string crossings here, which makes it a lot easier to play. Like that. So it's still a little bit of a brain teaser sort of thing, but that will make it easier if you practice it slowly. And that should take you through the end of the excerpt. Key things are just practicing slowly, practicing with the metronome, and listening to it a lot. That's what's going to help you through the excerpt.